to record. Let's see, here we go. So everyone can still hear me and see me, correct? Okay, we good? Okay. I got to share a case study, and I'll share a little bit of research too to kind of reaffirm this. But any of my meditation trainings and courses, they have to start with the why this is so crucial that we create this habit. And in a nutshell, if you haven't noticed, the world is speeding up both in terms of how fast time moves, but also the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, the ambiguity. Life on Earth in 2017 can feel at times scary as heck. So how do we slow that down? How do we find our place in it and allow ourselves to navigate? And so my case in point, my little case study from last year was January 4th of last year. I had committed to closing on this beautiful house that I live in now, that we dreamed about living in and building. And I sent the closing documents to the bank via fax machine. They asked me to fax them. And then 5 minutes later, my chief operating officer called me in and told me that my job was being eliminated. So I had no income and I had the dream home. It was like interesting duality there. And I remember as the words were leaving his lips that this means that you will no longer be working for us. And I had helped build this company over 10 years. So a lot of my identity, a lot of my friends and professional relationships, it was all wrapped up in this. So it was a lot of attachment there. And as the words were leaving his lips, I realized that I was able to kind of like slow the whole situation down, and I became deeply, deeply present. So it wasn't like a Jerry Maguire moment of what the hell is happening to me. It quickly became a moment of what is happening for me right now. And I got this sense from inside my body that what was unfolding was what I had been asking for a while. And I really attribute that ability to pivot in a, understandably scary situation. I still had to explain all this to my wife, how this was going to go down financially. But I attribute that ability to my meditation practice. I've been meditating for about 13 years or so, off and on, but really serious over the last 5. And it took me about 12 years or so to figure out how to create a daily non-negotiable habit. And the beautiful part is that over the last 3 years, I took everything I've learned about it from my guru Paramahansa Yogananda to, a lot of trial and error myself over 12 years. And I wired it up in a series of autoresponder emails, the Facebook group, this kickoff call, this kind of little rigorous curriculum we have here. And it allows people to do it in 30 days. And my promise to you is if you get inspired and you stick with it and you just make the continual, consistent deposit of the time each day, a nickel a day for 10 days, a dime a day for another 10 days, and then 15 cents for the final 10 days, I promise you that you will achieve in 30 days what took me 12 years to achieve. So the next time you have a missile launched at you from the side that you don't see coming, like a job going away or a lover going away or whatever it could be, some rug getting pulled out of you or out from under you, that you will have the skills to kind of slow things down, like Trinity in the Matrix, and watch the bullets whiz past you. But even more so beyond that, more so than the resilience and the ability to kind of deflect the uncertainty and to protect ourselves, what about ways of amplifying joy in your life? Tuning yourself into this signal of bliss or divinity or all is wellness, whatever that could be. And I know that could sound ethereal and hippie, and some people here might just say, bro, I'm just here for stress reduction. I'm tired of being stressed out. And that's great. But I'm also telling you that that's a great starting point. And once you get that under control and you move past into your ability to consciously attune to the joy within you, it feels like being a child again, riding your bicycle up into any given yard, expecting great stuff to happen, and then naturally great stuff starts to happen. So you can roll into work. Oh my gosh, it's going to be great. I get to play with my clients, play with my coworkers, and great things happen. So that is my wish for all of you. But I will tell you that it is not easy. It's if there is a battleground of life, it's the battleground that we face moment to moment to choose whether we tune into that signal that I mentioned or the static that surrounds us. And the world's a very persistent place. You know, the media is on every screen, and every flat surface these days is covered with that screen. So how do we pull off of that crazy train just enough to get our time in and to taking our meds? 5 minutes a day, 10 days, 10 minutes, and then 15 minutes. Are you guys still with me? Cool. All right. So that's the context. That's why we're going to do this. And here's what we're talking about. So the promise is to create, reinstall, or upgrade the habit that upgrades all other habits. Any consistent meditators in here, or people that have meditated in the past? Yes. There's always a few what I call meditator tots. And I know it's a terrible term, but we got to use something, right? But the ask is that if you have a practice or if you've had one in the past, to increase it 20 to 25% over the given month. I'll be doing the same. As we start watching each other and seeing each other meditate inside the Insight Timer app, I'm usually up at 5, 6 in the morning, and I'm going to be my goal is to get 90 minutes in every morning. And I don't say that to impress you. It's more so to show you that the more you do it, the more you need it. My name is Kristoffer Carter. All my friends call me KC by my initials if we haven't worked together before. You can find me at kristoffercarter.org or This Epic Life, thisepiclife.com. I have many interesting jobs. This is one that I did over the past weekend, but I'm the MC for a great event called Camp Good Life Project. I also MC a lot of corporate events and consult on corporate culture. And part of that is to take meditation into business and help uplift business through consciousness practices, reflection practices. Because here's the calm day at the office. I got some caffeine. I got some media. I have a calendar in my face. I have to-do lists. I have employees and coworkers to gossip with. And then I have a replica of all the computer craziness in my pocket that I could take with me into the bathroom or into parenting situations when I should be talking to my children. And what does that do? It just creates too many inputs and starts the crazy train a-rolling down the tracks. I mentioned VUCA already: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. We need the ability to manage this. And this manifests as this beautiful meme: what the hell is that? Oh, it's just my mind. And we might also take actions such as open new tab, forget why. Has anybody done that in the past 5 minutes? I probably have. So let's talk about stress. As I said, this is the great entry point into the practice, and this is certainly how I found it. Stress did nearly kill me. I don't need to get into the why and the how that happened. But, you know, the stats are really clear here. 43% of adults suffer adverse health effects of stress. 90% of all doctor visits are stress-related. 70% of distractions and sleepiness are responsible for 60 to 80% of all job-related accidents in the workplace. So these are just showing us in aggregate that we don't sleep enough. We have too many distractions, and we have never learned enough tools to properly manage our stress. So what we typically do is wait until that stress is, plenty out of control, and we either bottom out or we start medicating it or managing it in a way that has other side effects. Traditional coping, I'm a big fan of sharing this slide. We all learned this in college and other places. This is legitimately what nearly killed me. But what if we didn't have to burn all of our candles at all ends? And instead, maybe we could light one small tea light or one small candle on an altar in a sacred place and use that as a focal point to remove all of the static. I want to differentiate really quickly between meditation and mindfulness, because many people might have a mindfulness practice, and there's also a lot of confusion around these terms. And I always feel there's a really clear way to differentiate the two. Just consider meditation eyes closed, and consider mindfulness eyes open. And what I'd like the 30 days to be about for all of us is to develop the skill of meditation, which is eyes closed, time for silence with as little to no guidance as possible. It's great to use guidance at first and guided meditations. And by the way, I have a library of those inside the Insight Timer app. I recommend the Insight Timer app because it's a great timing tool that tracks all of your progress, and it gives you bragging rights. Like, I got 3 gold stars, and you can see how far you've come, how many days, all your stats. But there's also an amazing library of guided meditations in there, including some of my own. And I look at guided meditation as, your trusty dad holding the two-wheeler seat, but my goal is to let that go so you can take the on-ramp up onto the highway of life and kind of weave between traffic. I had to learn to meditate on crowded trains and buses in Chicago when I lived there. And North and Clybourne is next. Exit on the left. So the ability to tune out of the relentless distractions is what we want to practice this month. And we don't want guided meditation to become, the training wheels or the crutch. They're great and they help us a lot. But what I'd like for you to do is to sit in silence with yourself and see what happens. I know it's terrifying. You could probably imagine what's in here at this point. So meditation, one of these is a practice that drives the other. So that the waking life behavior that we want to drive here over the month is mindfulness. We want to show up more mindfully with our partners, with our kids and our pets and our coworkers. And the way to do that is to cultivate it through sitting practice and meditation. Is that clear so far? Nothing too confusing? Okay, awesome. I love seeing the thumbs. Keep them coming. I'm like, if we were Facebook Living right now, I'm powered by thumbs and hearts. So here's the common myths, is that meditation's only about relaxation. It's a very active process. And if you think that it's a very passive process, just try to sit for 5 or 10 minutes and you'll realize that it can take a lot to keep those monkeys at bay. Another myth is that the goal of meditation is to empty your mind of all thoughts and distractions or to complete a state of bliss. This is probably the fundamental error we make and why we quit meditating. How many of us have tried to train for a distance run before and we run too many miles the first day and the legs hurt and you're like, oh, that's right, I'm not an athlete, I suck at sports, I will never run again, this was a bad idea. I don't know if you've ever done that. I did it a lot before I started, before I figured out how to train. Meditation, same thing. People say, I should be thinking about nothing right now. I should be in this state of bliss or this moment of Zen, or look like the typically white woman for some reason on the cover of Time magazine meditating in Lululemon pants. That's a total farce. It's just not how it happens. It's a very pretty myth, and I would love to believe that that's how it works, but it's some hard-ass work to sit your butt down and to quiet the mind as many times as necessary. So that's what it is. If it's not the absence of thought, it's the determination to quiet the mind as many times as necessary. Because in doing so, that is what's flexing the muscle of your meta attention. Does that make sense? So if you're doing reps at the gym, the meditation practice, you're flexing the meta attention to clear the mind. So that way, when you lose your job like I did, or you lose somebody very close to you like I have, or any of us have, that when you get that news, it's understandably a punch in the gut, but it doesn't necessarily need to take you down with it. Meta attention is what creates the discernment we need to navigate that battleground of life, to choose between the signal or the static, to let life pull us around by the hair, or to brush off the hands and say, I got this, I'm in charge here. Another myth is that it's only based or limited to Eastern religions or philosophies. You use it to pursue enlightenment. That is a great side effect that can occur if you're a diligent, devoted practitioner for an entire lifetime, or many lifetimes as it may take. But we're not there yet. We're just talking about getting to the point of being able to manage our busy lives. And that meditation is about detaching or escaping from our problems. It's interesting. I used it as that for a while because I was fortunate to be pretty good at it early on. And trust me, that comes and goes. Sometimes you drop in and it's easy. Other times it's hell and it's hard. And it's supposed to be that way. But a monk once told me recently that the spiritual path is not about results. There's no results department. It's like, oh man, I don't want to hear that. There's only effort. There's only the effort department. And sometimes the results come as a result of that effort. But I was good at detaching and escaping my problems. And what I was using the meditation practice as just another drug. So if it wasn't booze or marijuana or you know, food or sugar or any of the millions of things we could find to conveniently escape our lives from, or with. Meditation was one of those too. And it's just not about that. You know, it does give you a tool set to detach and escape. But what you find is when those problems arise and they sit with you, that you really have to reassess your story and your attachment to them and process them. So you set them aside during the practice. And then when you come back to them after the practice, hopefully more mindfully, hopefully more self-compassionate, solution-oriented, inspired, then you could look at them in the face and say, I'm not interested in escaping you. I'm interested in finally freaking conquering you. Sound good? All right. The House of Cards. It's not the absence of thought. It's the time we take to calmly wrestle our minds back into focus. Similar to building a house of cards, your attention can resemble a house of cards on a very windy beach. And the windy beach is this 24-hour relentless news cycle of insanity and, you know, typical negativity, the marketing barrage, all the things that tell us or try to convince us that life is broken. We're going to be out here for 30 days taking our cards to the beach, hopeful little people, building these cards and protecting them. Okay? And what might happen is some not well-meaning person, somebody you know perhaps, maybe it's your kitty cat that jumps on your lap, will brush your attention and knock that sucker over. So what do you do in that moment? Do you throw a hissy fit and say, how dare you? I promised KC I would meditate for 30 days. You know, like you're ruining it. What you do is you calmly rebuild it. And that's the rebuilding of the meta attention that I mentioned. So embrace the House of Cards. It's totally cool. I promise you it'll get a more firm foundation as we work through it. You've probably heard this quote from Viktor Frankl, man's search for meaning between stimulus and response. There's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So that's the ability to pause, to stop, and to become conscious in a moment where our entire body and our entire being wants to run amok in emotion and unconsciousness. So we're going to be practicing this and deepening our ability to do that all month long. If you're into that sort of thing, which I certainly am, and I feel like you are too, otherwise you wouldn't be here. I'm not going to spend too much time on the stats here, but you know, this was a study from 2015. 43% is a big number, but this Harvard-affiliated hospital found that meditation could reduce the need for health care by as much as 43%. I've been really lucky to experience that in my own life. I was freaked out about having to pay insurance for our family of 5. And because I'm, you know, steadfast about my practice, I don't know that it's solely the meditation practice. I do try to eat well too, but I could guarantee you that I eat better and I eat well and I take care of myself because I'm meditating first thing. So they're all connected. Leadership skills, blah, blah, blah. Nobody here wants to be leaders. We want to be mindless followers. Right? No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't positively impact your leadership skills and also your personal effectiveness. There's a million research studies. I don't want to barrage you with them. I think you're pretty much on board about why this is so important. So now we need to talk about what I mean when I say taking your meds. And I'm going to pause there for one quick second because I want to see if my friend Laura is with us. Just give me a second here. This is going to be scary. But Laura, if you're with us, can you do me a favor and hit me in the chat, please? Ann Flanagan, I love seeing you, sister. I mean, I love seeing you in person last weekend, but seeing you in here too, I just feel so very, very grateful. Ann is a powerhouse meditator in her own right and takes this into businesses and creates a lot of positive change in the world through meditation. So it always inspires me where fellow seekers, fellow students, fellow teachers come together and realize that the more of us that do this over the 30 days, the more powerful it's going to be. So thanks for being in here, sister. I really appreciate it. So Laura, if you're in here, just ping me in the chat and I will want to hear from you. But let's just jump back into taking our meds. The Macintosh has this beautiful way of not allowing me to see my tools when I'm showing the full screen. All right, so we have the 30-day travel itinerary. This is how easy this is. So if you're already a meditator and you're like, wow, 5 minutes, I did that 50 years ago, then just think about increasing these allotments by 20 to 25% of where you are today. So we stair step up over 10 days, 5 minutes, days 1 through 10. The only thing I care about from you, that I'm asking for, that I'm demanding of you for yourself, not for me, but for yourself, is that you make it non-negotiable. Every single day, you cannot break the chain. So that's why we start really small with an impossibly low standard. This is like if you miss this bar, this is like limboing under an overpass. If you could limbo under an overpass, like on your tippy toes with your arms straight up, I think you could hit 5 minutes per day, every single day. If you don't have 5 minutes, you probably don't have a life and you should be in another program this month. But 5 minutes a day for 10 days, I think you could do it. And then we're going to graduate. We're going to double it to 10 minutes a day, because the goal is to get to 15 minutes a day by the last 10 days. And this really, to me, as I found over my journey of a decade plus years, this was really the tipping point where profound changes start to happen. The compounding benefit of the little deposits start coming back to us at 15 minutes a day, every day, non-negotiable. This means 15 minutes a day is every 96 days. That's a 24-hour period of your life you've dedicated to meditation. That's 3 full days a year of your life that are sitting in stillness, aligning with something bigger than yourself. 3 full days plus a year of clearing the static and strengthening the meta attention. I mean, it's like going on retreat for 3 days a year and just like maxing out on meta attention. It's a big deal. I mean, 15 minutes doesn't sound like much, but Jerry Seinfeld said that most of his career was created on 15 minutes of joke writing a day, and he knew his only job was to never break the chain. So those jokes that he wrote 15 minutes a day turned into Seinfeld the Show, which got sold into syndication for like an 8-figure number, or like $1 billion plus. So the accrued compounding benefit of 15 minutes a day is a beast, and we got to get there, but we get there through 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Does that sound so ridiculously easy so far? Because if it doesn't, I'm worried for you. I'm scared right now. I'm beside myself. I'm just kidding. I'm getting overly dramatic. I'm just excited to get into this. All right. We got to talk about the daily prompts, because people are like, bro, I clicked the email too soon and you just started emailing me every day and I'm scared and I don't know what to do. Just do me a favor and save them. They're all keyed up in a very particular order. They're sequential because they build on the emotional arc of the 30 days. So the first 7 days are something like, you got the swagger of Saturday Night Fever. You're like, God, this was easier than Casey said it was. I'm so good at this. I'm telling all my friends and family, look, I'm a meditator. I did this 5-7 days. But then we celebrate at day 7, and then things get real. The emotional rebound happens. The little crappy voice inside says, who are you fooling? You're not going to complete this. You never complete a 30-day thing. All that static starts re-entering, right? So if you follow and you stay in sync with the 30-day prompts, I'm going to go on that emotional journey with you, and I'm going to tell you how to manage that all the way through. So all those prompts are keyed up to the emotions that you find on day 1 through 30. Cool? So you don't have to read them in sequence, but just save them into one folder, drag them into one folder, and just go back to refer to them. I've polished these over maybe the last 3 years, and I'm really proud of them, not only of the design, that they're cool and they're powerful, but they are profound. And there'll be moments where you'll email me and be like, bro, you're in my head. And it's not that I'm in your head. It's that I remember what it was like the first time I meditated for 30 straight days, and I tried to really graph out that emotional arc, okay? But I promise if you follow the arc and you do the practice, we'll get to 30 and it'll be celebrate good time. Okay. So what are we going to do? We're going to break it on down. So we need to talk about your attention, and we're going to practice this here in a second. But the goal is to pass through 3 phases. So you have a little pie chart of 5 minutes. You have a little pie chart of 10 minutes. You have a little pie chart of 15 minutes representing your time investment, okay? The biggest question everybody asks is, well, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just sit there and watch myself think? because it sucks. Like if you sit there, you realize like, wow, I am crazier than I thought. I think more than I think I do. It's painful, right? You don't want to do that. You want to have 3 phases: getting your attention, holding your attention, and bringing it back as many times as necessary, as we discussed. And then finally, probably the most important one is the benefit of doing all that prior work is to direct your attention. And we'll talk about each of these. So let's start by getting our own attention. We're going to do this together here first, okay? So let's sit up straight in our chairs, and I'll show you a little bit about the asana or posture. We've probably done some yoga at some point, right? I'm going to scoot you on back. I have a meditation cushion. I have a stack of these to do my retreats, but I usually sit this on the ground underneath my butt because it props my butt up above my legs and it creates a perfectly straight spine. And the most important piece of the posture is to have a perfectly straight spine. What's the most important piece of the posture, you might be wondering? I just said it's to have a completely straight spine. There's a lot of reasons I could get into that, but just you want your spine straight. It'll keep you awake. If nothing else, it'll keep you awake. So you want your spine a little bit, or your butt a little bit off the floor if you're seated on the floor. If you're seated in a chair, and the chair is, oh look, my daughter left her dirty socks there. That's a shock. If you're seated in a chair, I'm going to prop you up here so you can see me properly. Here we are. To sit in a chair, if you have any discomfort sitting on the floor, strongly advise you sitting in a chair. There's nothing wrong with it. You're going to get all the same benefits, probably more so if you're able to, transcend your discomfort. So you sit in the chair, thighs parallel to the floor, ideally, in a straight line down, like so a 90-degree angle straight down, okay? And again, spine is straight. Your hands, and this is whether you're on the floor or in a chair, hands upturned. I like upturned for a lot of reasons. You see a lot of people meditating doing mudras. There's a lot of power in various mudras. There's thousands of them. But hands upturned, I consider that receiving position. Sometimes when I walk the trail or I ride my bikes on the trail, I put my hands out to the side, and it's amazing if you're conscious what you can absorb through your palms. It's the vitamin D from the sun. It's, I consider, the posture of the straight spine to be kind of an antenna to the cosmos. It gives us a chance to kind of tune into something greater than ourselves and kind of get out of that static and move past that static. But the hands upturned is another powerful one. And what we want to do with these hands upturned, and if any of this is uncomfortable and you're more comfortable like this or whatever, that's your call. But here's the best practice. Hands upturned, and then bring them in to where the thigh meets the body. Because what this does, it keeps your shoulders in check. It keeps your shoulders up, alert, and back. Okay, so you have a straight spine, and I'll try to move this up a little bit so you can see. Do you kind of see the alignment happening in the spine? Chest is now wide and open. Arms are back. At first, this feels a little bit awkward, and it certainly looks a little bit awkward now that I look at it. But nobody's going to be sitting there staring at you doing this, unless they're a total weirdo. So hands up into the body. And you just want to find as much comfort and relaxation in here, in this pose. So anywhere that there's tension or discomfort, just kind of adjust it. And there's different, what I call anchors. And one anchor is the hands right here. Another anchor is the straight spine. Another anchor is the distance between the back of the chair and the spine to make sure we're not. Because what's going to happen if we do this? The same thing that'll happen if we meditate in corpse pose at the end of yoga. You will go peace out and cop some Z's. So hands up in the posture. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to breathe in for a count of 4. And I know these numbers might seem high for some folks, but just try to do it with me. So take a big exhale out. Throw out the breath. Now in through the nose, take a big breath in for 4 counts. Ready? Go. 4, hold for 7 if you can. 4, 5, 6, 7. Now big exhale out for 8. All right, that is just one cycle of 4, 7, 8 breathing. Ideally, you want to do 4 of these at the beginning. There's a lot of research around the 4, 7, 8 breathing. If you Google search it, it has a soothing effect similar to how infants breathe. Infants breathe to soothe themselves, and if you're able to soothe an infant, you get them to kind of recreate the experience they had in the womb. You know, but there's something womb-like our bodies respond to with 4, 7, 8 breathing. It's like something that's hard-coded to us. I encourage you to do a little bit of digging into it. I didn't pull it into here, but you breathe in for 4, hold for 7, big exhale for 8. And don't be afraid to make an audible exhale. It's totally fine. I just picture throwing out all the stuff we don't need, breathing in the nourishing stuff we do need, holding it, let it nourish ourselves, and then releasing everything we don't need. But yeah, 4, 7, 8 breathing you could use at work when you get really tense, when you have a really angry client, when you get a little, piece of hate email, or the kid spills the milk and shatters it for the 5th time that dinner. 4, 7, 8 breathing is a way for you to regain composure. And I just look at it as the best way to get your own attention. Cool? So 4, 7, 8 breathing. Try some variation if you can't quite do those numbers of breath. All right. And now we're going to move into holding our attention. And this is really the bulk of the practice. The bulk of the practice, you might spend a minute up front in a 5-minute meditation getting your own attention. And then you spend 3 minutes at least in the holding of your attention. Here's one little visualization that worked for me for about 10 years, was when I close my eyes and I sit in meditation, I picture myself in a giant empty IMAX theater. And I'm in the center row, center seat, and no one is around you. It's just screen wrapping from floor to ceiling around your periphery. And what you do through the practice is you watch thoughts or emotions or stories appear on the screen. And rather than get into a conversation with yourself about why you're thinking about them, you non-judgmentally release them. You either tap them with your finger and they disappear, or you wipe the screen to white over and over as many times as it takes. They appear again. You unattached, acknowledge them, release them. Make sense? That visualization, a similar variation that I use a lot in my guided meditations, are sitting in front of still water, and the water is completely still, but the ripples are formed by the pebbles of our thoughts or emotions. Same deal as the screen, you just still the water. The other one is the sky. The final one is the sky, and I have some guided meditations of 5 and 10 minute lengths inside Insight Timer to get you started with this process. So for the first 10 days, you could just use the 5-minute sky meditation. And basically the mantra is, I am the sky, watching all weather move through me. So you're watching the emotions and the thoughts pass as clouds in the sky, and you're watching it from the meta angle and just letting those pass through. Cool? But it's all the same practice, whether it's the screen or the lake or the sky. We have to be able to sit comfortably, spine straight, focus on the breath, and just keep the screen white or keep the water still. Pop quiz. Are you a failure if the screen is filled with chaos? No, you're brave as hell because you showed up and you're doing the work. And it's brave work, and I will tell you quite honestly, it's probably the most brave work we can do, because in doing that, it allows us to show up more and more for ourselves and for others. So just know that it's no small feat to sit for 60 seconds, then 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. And someday you will find me and say, dude, I'm sitting for an hour, and I know what that takes. All right. Why don't we do this for 1 minute? Is anybody scared? Do you guys have a minute of your time? Can I borrow 1 minute of your time? It could be the best investment you make all day long. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to set the insight timer. By the way, the insight timer looks like this. Oh, wait, that's a very bad image. But there's a beautiful timer inside it with all these really cool bells and stuff. But there's also a community in there. I would love for you to find me in there. The group is called The Pause. If you search This Epic Life, The Pause, or if you search Kristoffer Carter, K and 2 Fs, we could build this community inside there, and we could keep tabs of one another during our meditations. So I could see when Miriam is meditating, or Layla, or Amanda, and there's something really comforting and cool about it. And then once you're done with it, but don't use this as another reason to like get obsessed with like, oh my, do I have a lot of friends in Insight Timer? No, this is just the tool, like do not get obsessed. And then at the end of those meditations, we ping each other. We say, great job, keep it up. I offer additional support inside the Insight Timer group if you have questions or big challenges with the practice. It's just another way we can support one another. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set this for 1 minute. And we are going to come into the meditation posture. And all I want to do, I'm not going to guide this. Let's pretend we just did 4 cycles of 4-7-8 breathing. We have our own attention. And we just want to focus on the breath and focus on the white screen for 1 minute. Anytime a thought arises, just release it. Here we go. So that just dinged. Just settle into the rhythm of the breath. Steady breaths in and out through the nose. And notice the screen all around you. Okay, believe it or not, that's 1 minute. And when I ask what happened, for some people, it's like equally split. Either that minute seems like an eternity, or the minute goes by like that. And there's sometimes an hour meditation could do the same thing. It feels like, wow, is this really only an hour or only 5 minutes? But a lot of other times we just drop in and it happens very quickly. But who experienced the work of the practice during that minute? Was it? Okay, cool. Miriam, Amanda, Layla, a lot of others. Yeah, you experience the work of the practice if you're acknowledging and releasing. That is the work of the practice. It's no small feat, and I guarantee you that is what is transformative, is your ability to do that as many times as necessary. And the work also might be to not get into the conversation about you with yourself, like, oh gosh, I'm thinking about this webinar right now, and are people enjoying themselves? And and it's easy to kind of chase that mind through the weeds. You don't want to do that. So again, what are you doing? You're getting, you're holding, and you're directing. So here's how this might look for these 3 different levels of meditations. In a 5-minute meditation, you spend a minute up front getting your attention, 4-7-8 breathing or something similar, tensing and releasing the body, reminding your body that you are the ghost in the machine, you are in charge here. The body will say, but we want coffee, we want to run with the antelopes, we want to go, do whatever, scan BuzzFeed. But no, you're going to get your own attention. The bulk of the practice, the blue, is the holding of the attention, and then the last piece, the purple, is the directing of the attention. And all directing of the attention is to bask for just another minute or 2 or 5 in the gratitude, in the noticing of what space was created, in setting goals for yourself or intentions for the day. So you get the idea of like getting or claiming the attention, holding it, and then directing it to our highest good. Sound good? This is how this could look at 10 minutes, a minute up front gathering the attention, 7 minutes in the practice, 2 minutes of gratitude, and so on. So you can see here that, close to 2/3 to 75% of your time is holding the attention, but you don't want to just do that. Because unless you get your attention, it'll be like wrestling with turkeys or Buddy the Elf trying to hug like a feral raccoon. It will not be friendly to you if you don't start by claiming your attention. Claim it or get it, hold it, then direct it. You can't skip the steps. So before I open it up to the Q&A, does this all seem fairly simple so far? It almost seems too easy. I do want to leave you with some powerful words from Paramahansa Yogananda. Every time I read these words, either to a new group of students or to myself, it always gives me a kick in the ass. Another one of his powerful affirmations I shared last week at camp that a lot of people resonated with was, I will gather all dusty sorrows from the attic of memory and cast them into the fires of oblivion. Yeah, that sounds good. So when I lay these words on you, it's in no way me trying to draft you into the yogi army or anything like that. But this is just from an extremely inspiring soul. And if you want to know anything about him, there's a great movie on Netflix called Awake. It's an objective documentary just about what he did back in the 20s and 30s and 40s. But here's the words. And this applies directly to us creating a habit that has the potential to change our lives this month. Because it's not enough to want things to be different or to wish things to be different. We have to show up. So a wish implies a helpless desire of the mind. A desire is a stronger wish. It is often followed by fitful efforts to manifest itself into action. So 12 years ago, I had a desire to be a meditator. An intention or determination is a definite, strong desire expressed very forcefully once or twice through action for the accomplishment of a certain purpose. Such a determination, however strong, is often discouraged after one or perhaps several unsuccessful efforts. For any of us who have tried this and failed before, or tried any 30-day challenge and failed before, this one's going to be different. But a volition is a series of continuous, undiscourageable, unceasing determinations and acts revolving around a desire until it becomes dynamic enough to produce the much craved results. You see the difference between a wish and a desire and a determination and a volition? Will and act until victory is the slogan of all volitive activity. No matter how impossible of accomplishment a goal may seem, the man or woman of volition never stops repeating conscious acts of determination to achieve it as long as they live. So let's just sit with that one for a second, because it could just be marketing of like, oh, let's call it a 30-day challenge, and whoever shows up, they show up, and yeah, we'll be challenged to meditate. Maybe we will. But I just threw down the gauntlet. I threw down the gauntlet to you saying, if you want to do it and you want to make it happen, we've tried to make it easy and inspiring enough and fun enough and community-centric enough where we actually have a shot at it this month. I don't know about you, but September is one of my favorite months of the year. It's not only my birthday month, but the air gets crispy around here. Fall starts coming on. It's an incredible time. It's back to school. It's all that energy. And I just really feel like this is probably the best month of the year we could do this. And I think we all really have a shot at doing it. And if you're getting something out of it, challenge your friends, because chances are they might be suffering in different ways and they might need it as well. And my whole goal in doing this, by the way, this isn't just a list builder or a community builder for me. It's honestly part of my dharma. I have to pay this forward. This is what saved my life. And I'm passionate about helping people do this. All right. With that, I want to take a few minutes to open it up for any questions and also see if my friend, we could start with my friend. I'm going to stop the share. And I want to start with my friend Laura if she's in here. So bear with me 1 second. Eloa chuckling away over here. Oh, Eloa's over in the UK. Awesome to see you in here, girl. Right on, Mike. Yeah, I take PowerPoint seriously. Yeah, you can't half-ass the slides. You gotta, PowerPoint's a soul-sucking endeavor. All right, so the goal here is to just like let's put some humanity with this whole process here. So who has a question first of all? Just put your hand up. Question or comment? All right, so we're going to start with Aaron McCandless. So Aaron, can I have you unmute yourself?
There we go.
All right, how's it going?
Great, thanks. Very helpful, very interesting. I'm actually trying to improve my meditation practice. I actually do sit for 5 minutes every day, but it's just not, it doesn't seem to improve or deepen despite, a long time working on it. So this is, I think, going to be really helpful for me. But I would like a little more, your thoughts a little bit more about how you direct, how you hold and how you direct. I mean, I know some ways to do that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. And also, can you share the PowerPoint with us?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I will share that either in the Facebook groups or I'll put it on the Getting Started page. Yeah, but I'll make that accessible. The question about directing, I've studied many different paths over the course of my meditation career, and I'm on the yogic path, and I practice Kriya Yoga. So there's a very specific sadhana or scientific set of steps that take me through that. So what I did with that is I distilled it down to the 3 that I showed you, which is directing, holding, getting, holding, directing. And holding and directing, holding's really the work, and I think you get that if you've been meditating consistently, you get what that is. But the directing is the real opportunity here. The monks that I counsel with that have been practicing for decades and like 40 years, 50 years, and they emanate. I mean, you feel the vibe coming off of them, like a saint level vibe. And that is, they tell me that the most important phase is to sit in, to bask in the work you just did and to marinate in it and let it overtake you. And so to me, the easiest entry point into that is gratitude. And so if you're at a sacred place, I encourage everybody to set up a little sacred space in their house where you want to do this every day. There's a lot of power in the consistency of that habit to kind of clear out and set up your, if it's a candle or if it's a picture or your picture of your kids or whatever it is, little altar. Oh, sorry, I froze for a second. A little altar. But what I do at my altar is I also hang my vision board there, and I have pictures of my kids and everything else. But when I open my eyes after the practice, I just really come to grips with the awesomeness of my life and just really let that have its way with me. And on the other side, really hard days where I'm really resisting everything or just, not in it to win it, that directing the attention part is really hard. So what I try to do, I try to get a foothold just by setting an intention. Like I may have felt powerless before I sat today, but I am reclaiming it through my practice. And as I leave the cushion, I'm going to reclaim it through my day. And those little just ways, so I would summarize it as gratitude and intentionality. And, if you're studying advanced teachings and after you do Kriya Yoga, you really try to communicate with the divine through the internal means. And that's just a powerful place because you've done the work to clear the vessel. And now that the vessel is clear, what are you going to do with it? What we usually do is pick up the phone. What did I miss? And then you're basically, I wouldn't say you're negating the practice, but you're letting the milk of your consciousness spill everywhere. You want to be able to take that with you into your day. Does that help?
Yeah, just a little bit more. That's interesting to me because it's the majority of that time then is not actually focused on, watching the clouds and that sort of connection, but actually thinking through your intentions and gratitude.
Well, so it's just that little last third or last quarter, so it's like you're doing the getting your attention, the focusing the clouds, the flexing the meta attention, and then allowing time at the end. And what I encourage everybody to do is not to be so rigid about the time. I call it lingering on. So when you're done with the practice, just linger on, and that'll be your directing the attention. Wow, I have a little bit more space in my chest. My heart feels a little bit more open. I'm sending love to my mom. I'm sending love, whatever that looks like for you. Linger on in the love. You earned it. You did the work. Linger on. But that in itself is something that you'll tell me in 30 days, like, bro, because I just learned this like last year. Like that, I was like, I'm meditating my ass off. Like, why am I not progressing? And they were like, you need to sit. Like, what are you doing after the practice? So that it's important. Who else has another question? You guys are such a quiet bunch. Is anybody? Does everybody have a supportive environment or a place in mind in their house or in their life where they could go do this and find the quiet they need? Is anybody worried about finding a quiet place? Okay, you guys are good. Anybody worried about finding a quiet place? Más o menos? Do you have children? Okay, lucky. I have 3. So I got to do this early before they all wake up. 5? You have 5? Wowzers. Yeah, it's amazing. One of the things I recommend doing, especially, does anybody, or on the other side, does anybody travel a lot? Like for work or other things, because that really pulls you off your routine and off your game. You know what I mean? You're tired at different times. You're in noisy, busy places. It could be chaotic. So what I do when I travel is I make every single city I go to kind of a spiritual pilgrimage where I'll take buses, I'll walk, I will find the nature spots, I will run in those trails, or I'll find temples, synagogues, cathedrals, whatever it may be, to sit in the back row and just tune into those places and just kind of use the silence that they've built for us as a little sanctuary. So that's a kind of a little cool scavenger hunt you could do. Inside your house, something that might help also is, background noise, white noise. So some nice headphones or earbuds. In the Insight Timer app now too, they have different kind of droning sounds you could choose from, like whether that's ocean waves or like these sounds of sitars and that sort of thing. But just know that there's a lot of tools to help you tune out of the intensity of everything. Yes. Blanca, can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So is it okay then to use, like in the Insight Timer, it has like the little guitar chord that plays over and over? Is that okay? It doesn't have to be silent?
Yeah, I think that that's fine. If you're having a lot of distractions. If you have good silence, enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, it goes in and out. Like sometimes the silence helps, and other times when I hear, but then I started to kind of like feel like I was counting on the music too much. It was keeping me from having all the crazy thoughts, but then it wasn't getting me to do anything else but kind of like hear the music, because I'm musical, so it kind of like set me on a pattern of music.
Well, there's something very soothing about that and repetitive, and that's why it works so well. I listen to a lot of binaural ambient music that has theta waves in it, and it takes you into a meditative state. So anytime I'm on my bike or on the trails, that's all I listen to. It doesn't have words. And that might be like a secondary recommendation, is try whenever possible to listen to music without words, because it becomes another level of input, where I'm a huge Eminem fan and there are so many words in that, but it definitely does something to the vibe, obviously. But if you can train yourself to seek silence, then seek, music without words, and then, finally like getting the words. But I think it's good that you pay attention to that. One of the things too, in my house, we live in the kind of the edge of some woods. And when I get really silent, you start hearing birds chirping outside. You could hear through the panes of glass, birds chirping or whatever it is. And then I realized, like, wow, my hearing's not as damaged as I thought it was. Or, I'm grateful to live in these woods. So you could tune in to a deeper level of the silence that's around you and move past it. Jonathan Fields and I both suffer from hearing loss from tinnitus, where we have ringing in the ears. And the only way to manage that without it driving you insane is to move beyond it. And you move beyond it through meditation. So being on the other side of it, you could look at it and say, gosh, I'm grateful I can still hear something. I can still hear that. I can still hear, a lot of stuff. And, but you can experiment a lot with silence, and silence, like meditation, is not pass fail. You can't sit in meditation and say, bro, it'd be so much better if my neighbors were silent too, because I'm silent. You can't sit. That's not going to be a good session. Anybody else? Any questions? Are we complete? All right, we're going to do this because who has gotten their first session in today or their session in today? Awesome. I'm inspired by you. I was working until 1 a.m. last night or this morning, so I need to go get my butt to my cushion and actually do this for real. But go get in your 1 of 30. We're going to hashtag them. Feel free to share them in your Facebook wall or wherever you tweets or whatever you do. But pound on your chest a little bit. It's hashtag 1 of 30, hashtag 2 of 30, and so on until we're all the way at 30 of 30. And if you fall off the wagon and you miss a day, it's not failure. It's only failure if you don't get back on. Okay? But I don't want you to get used to staying off the wagon. Like, you got to be on. We're going to be looking for you. We're like, where the hell did she go? I need her here. Does that make sense? We going to do this? All right. Well then, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to unmute everybody. Let's see how crazy this will be. Oh my gosh. I'm always so
Hey, Casey.
Yeah.
I can't find you on the Inside Meditation app. How do we do that?
Me too.
Yep. Thanks. Great question. Thanks for asking. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to find her. That's what this is about, is finding herself.
Hopefully it still works. It's been a little weird lately. Like, it's getting that.
Mercury in retrograde is almost over. Everything's going to be fine. I can feel it. So all you do is if you go under.
That's why we measure.
I'm gonna mute everybody. We don't know who the loud one is. So all I'm doing is on the Insight Timer app, the bottom, there's these icons. There's the home icon where you can kind of see the people that you follow, who they're, that they're meditating. There's the library. And the second one, the little headphone icon, you tap the top where there's a little search bar. And then we're going to type in Kristoffer with a K and 2 Fs because my mom wanted to torture all of us, not just me. So it's Kristoffer, Carter. And then the first thing that comes up is Kristoffer Carter. And then you could follow me, or underneath there is all of my guided meditations, and you could bookmark those. So when you go into your little library, those will be bookmarked. And you say, okay, 5 minute with KC today, 10 minute with KC today. Is that helpful? Cool. Yeah, I know there's a lot to Insight Timer. It's a very deep thing, but I do love how it tracks your stats and stuff. It's incredible. You could export this as Excel. There's a bunch of stuff you could do with it, but it's a free app, and I believe it's still free to register and set up your profile and stuff, but it's worth doing. And the last thing I would say on the bottom is if you go into, there's 4 little circles next to each other. It's about almost all the way over to the right, and that's called groups. I see what you mean. This one's acting a little bit wonkalicious. 1 second. But I'm a believer. I bet this is going to work this time. But the 4 little dots are the groups, and you want to search for This Epic Life, the pause. All one word, I believe, This Epic Life. And you'll find the pause. It's a picture of my silhouette meditating with a big pause. That's how you'll know you'll be there. But join that group. And I'm trying not to give you too many groups because I know there's the Facebook and then there's this and there's that. But this is a really good, like, real-time check-in of how we're doing together. You know what? I did totally change the name of it last month. I apologize. It's called the Pause Meditation Group. The Pause Meditation Group. It looks like that. The Pause Meditation Group. And then that way we could communicate outside of the insanity of Facebook, if you're down with that. Jennifer.
Thank you.
Good to see you. All right. Thanks so much, Diane. And thanks to all of you. I'm so excited to see you all in here. It's good to see a lot of faces that we got to play with at camp last week. Holy smokes. What happened back there? That was special. Still recovering. And let's see. Much love, Mike. Come swim in my pool. Mike Klemenko came and swam with his family in our pool last summer. They stopped through. It was amazing. All right. Much love, everybody. And let me know how it's going, okay? Do it. I really think you could do this. I mean, if like a high energy, uncomfortable levels of energy type of person like me can figure this out, I guarantee you that you can figure this out. You have way more support than I did, but it's going to be quick and it's going to be powerful. All right. Much love. All right, Kristen. Bye, guys. Good luck. Talk soon. See you in the pause. Bye, everyone.